Excited for today's show for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it is always a pleasure to be here with you and to share my own experience with A Course in Miracles with you. And this is universal spirituality, so it applies no matter who you are, no matter where you're from in the world, no matter what your religious or spiritual background. We're talking universal principles here. And today's lesson in the workbook for students is simple, it's beautiful, and it's deeply, deeply profound. So, because I want the live to last more than 1 or 2 minutes, I'll have plenty to say about that. And I also welcome your questions, your comments, and thank you to everybody that's tuning in live here. I'll check all of those live comments and give you a shout out, say hello in a few minutes. But thank you for tuning in and for all of your shares, the likes, the loves, the hearts. I love it. It's so much fun to be able to present all of this in a worldwide, literally a worldwide global community format. So I thank you once again for tuning in here on Enlightened World Network. All right, so lesson 48, of course, as you would imagine, is a continuation of lesson 47, which has been a continuation of lesson 46, and so on, and so on, and so on. Yeah. Yesterday, we were looking at a very fundamentally important concept of getting out of our own way. And if you did not catch yesterday's live stream, what I mean by that, what any spiritual teacher, no matter what the tradition is, means by getting out of our own way is not trying to orchestrate and manipulate the world on our own. We cannot ever guarantee that any choice that we make in the world, right? We cannot guarantee that any choice we make ourselves, trying to do things as best we can, and we may have genuine intent, but we cannot guarantee that if we leave things to our own devices, that everything that we touch, everything we say, everything we think, any action that we take is going to have a profoundly positive impact on every single person. Why we don't know all ends, and we're confused. We're confused, and spiritual practice, including A Course in Miracles, tells us that we're confused about the nature of reality. We're mistaking illusions, and that is the illusion of separation for reality. We think we're separate from everything else, from everyone else, and from God, the source of our being. And that is a mistake. Mistakes, happily, can be corrected. And that is what the workbook for students of A Course in Miracles is for. It's what it's all about, is correction of error. We also, some of us anyway, are raised to believe that there is something fundamentally wrong with us, that we are broken. And I am here to tell you, A Course in Miracles is here to tell you that no, you are not broken. At our core, we have remained completely unchanged despite all of our many, many lifetimes of having an apparently separate existence, where we run around seemingly competing with one another, struggling against ourselves, against one another. And isn't it happy? Isn't it a wonderful thing to hear, whether you believe it right now or not? Isn't it a wonderful thing to hear that this is an illusion and that there is nothing to fear? There's nothing to fear. This is lesson 48, and it's very simple. There's nothing to fear. Period. Period. It's a fact that there's nothing to fear. It's truth. However, For someone that believes very strongly in illusions, it is not easy to believe. In fact, it seems patently false, a pipe dream, maybe, a lie, even. If a mind, call it a person, if someone believes in illusions in the sense of separation, then it's going to seem like a challenge that there's nothing to fear. Because for one that believes in illusions, there's everything to fear. Identify as being a separate self, a separate body. What happens? The body decomposes. We age, right? The body loses its functionality over time. How many of us are as vigorous now as we were when we were 19 years old? And if you're more vigorous, then that's excellent. But the point here is that if we identify with the supposedly solid physical objects like bodies, like our profession, we end up experiencing profound disappointment. Why? It doesn't last. Illusions don't last. Truth simply is. And what we're doing is we're awakening to the truth. And there is indeed nothing to fear. I know that everyone watching this live stream has had the sense of worrying about something. We spend a lot of our time, don't we, worrying about the future, about what's coming in the future, about what we're going to do this afternoon, what we're going to have for dinner this afternoon, what's going to happen tomorrow. Will we be able to make certain payments and obligations next month? Well, the worries come in all different shapes and sizes, but it's still the same worry. It's fear, it's a sense of lack, it's anxiety, it could take the form of depression, takes many forms, right? It's still fear. And we're saying today, the workbook is saying unequivocally, with 100% certainty, there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. And I hope that this may make you feel really good and that it might comfort you and make you feel glad, because it does. It makes me feel happy. There's nothing to fear. Instinctively, growing up, I knew that. I was raised in a fundamentalist Baptist church in a tradition that wanted everyone to fear, that touted the fear of God, whatever that actually means, right? How can one actually fear perfect love? Well, you could try to deny it, you could run and hide, which is actually what we do in the world. Is we're psychologically, we're spiritually and emotionally trying to hide from ourselves, aren't we? There's nothing to fear. We can stop hiding. We can stop hiding. We can make the choice, the decision to stop hiding right now. Now, today's very, very straightforward lesson requires just a very straightforward practice. The workbook commentary is very short today. If you're following along, you'll notice that some are 8, 9 paragraphs deep and have a little bit more elaborate recommendations for how one practices the day's idea. Today, just repeat it to yourself. You can repeat it with your eyes closed. You can repeat it with your eyes open. There is nothing to fear. Now, if you experience fear, it may not come in a form that you recognize as fearful. It may come in the form of getting annoyed at someone, at something. Frustration, is that love? No, it's fear. You're frustrated because someone or something is acting in a way that you don't want them to, that things aren't going the way you want them to. That's why we experience frustration. If someone makes us angry, we experience anger as a form of fear. Why? Anger is not love. Literally, we have the choice between love or fear. Now, we all choose and have chosen both many, many, many times over. And we're at the point, you are, I promise you, at the point right now watching this live stream where you know the difference. You can feel viscerally in your core, in your heart, in your gut, the difference between loving thoughts and fearful thoughts. How do they make you feel? And how do they make the world appear to you? Presence of fear is a sign, and the workbook tells us that you're trusting your own judgment, not the judgment of the Holy Spirit, not the judgment of your guides, if you prefer, not the judgment of your higher self. We're not trusting God if we're trusting our own little selves who don't know what's going on. We cannot see all ends, and we cannot, no matter how much we may try, we cannot guarantee that every single thing that we say and do is going to be in the absolute best interest and the highest good of every single living thing, guaranteed. Can we make that guarantee when we send a tweet? No. Can we make that guarantee when we open up our mouths? Well, usually no. We can, however, if we turn things over to God. When we turn things over to the universe, if you prefer, to your guides, to the Holy Spirit, which is the term that A Course in Miracles uses. The Holy Spirit is known in Course terminology as many different things, including the voice for God, an intermediary between ourselves and the divine, who does not know conflict. Love only knows itself. We here in the world are capable of loving thoughts, happily, and fearful thoughts as well. And each and every one of us, if we're perfectly 100% honest with ourselves, fluctuates between the two all the time. So I'm here to tell you, the workbook is here to tell you, there is literally at the core nothing, nothing, nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. My hope is that you practice this idea, whether you're working with A Course in Miracles or not. Anyone can tell themselves there is nothing to fear. And I hope that you may do that as often as you remember to do that today, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. So I know that some of you are tuning in here with me live on the stream, and I do want to say hello to you. So thank you all for joining me. Who have we got here today? We've got a couple people. Robert, hello, and Isabel and Elaine, how are you? Thank you all for tuning in here. Yeah. And, you know, I'm really, really happy that all of you are watching this, whether you're watching it live or whether you're catching the replay here, because what you're doing in tuning into this is making, and I'll just use the word, an investment in yourself. Let's just use that word. And we're not talking about an investiture of money, but we are talking about you taking time out of your day to listen to somebody who could be on the other side of the world talking about their own experience in spirituality. And my hope is that you may see yourself in some of this. This is why I'm doing this. So this is why any of us stands up in front of a camera or a microphone, turns it on, and begins to speak about their experience. This is why we do it, so that we may reach all of you and everyone that gets reached via social media, which is beautiful because we can share posts, we can pass things along, we can retweet, we can do all kinds of things. We can drop a link and share it with people. We're very, very fortunate in the 21st century to have all of these ways of communicating with one another. And it's a beautiful thing. So thank you all. And hi, Nathan. Thank you all for tuning in. This is why I do it, so that you may see yourself as you see me here talking about my experience. and saying that there is nothing to fear. Perhaps you may feel that in your core right now, today, or maybe you'll feel it in 15 minutes. Whenever you do, doesn't matter. My hope is that you take these messages to heart and practice them. This is one of the things that I love, absolutely love about A Course in Miracles is that it gives us something practical. We don't have to believe that there is nothing to fear, but try and experiment with yourself. Tell yourself that. Spend 1 minute repeating the idea that there is nothing to fear and see how you feel at the end of that minute. If you feel better, if you feel less fearful, if you feel lighter, then do it again when you remember to do it. The simplicity of this is astounding, and it cuts through all of the complications, all of the barriers, all of the artificial walls that we as human beings try so desperately to impose. So let me leave you again with just the repetition of today's idea. There is nothing to fear, and I will see you back here again tomorrow. Thank you all for joining me. This has been A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love.